Before we could make sense of this world, of the things that are taking place in our society or culture, even outside of this world in outer space, before we could make sense of all of these things that could be going on in our community, we need to make sense of ourselves. We need to have an understanding of how we operate, how we process things. We need to understand the anatomy of me. Remember, I'm a teacher, not a speaker. Understand the anatomy of me. If I were to look at the most basic building block of all life, what am I referring to? I am referring to a cell, whether it's a plant or animal cell, a simple or complex. All living things are composed of cells. We need to understand how it's structured, because if we understand how our cells are structured, we could apply it even more so to our life. So cells are the most basic, the most simple unit of life. They are capable of all of life's processes, and we are made up of them. They are the fundamental and the structural unit of life. And if we were to break down and really look at a cell and understand it, we will then learn even more so the anatomy of me. So if I were to look at a cell, if I look at the outside of a cell, the outside of the cell is referred to as, depending on the cell, like a cell wall or a cell membrane. And what does that wall or membrane actually do? It provides support, protection, and structure. It controls basically what is allowed into the cell and what goes out of the cell. It identifies what type of food it allows in and the waste that gets released. So even stopping to think, what are we feeding on? What are we allowing into our bodies mentally, physically? What are we allowing in to feed the anatomy of me? What are we releasing, or what are we expelling? What waste, what bad thoughts, what bad characteristics, what bad habits are we releasing? If I think about that cell membrane, I want you to think about who is in your network, because they help shape and mold you. They provide the support when needed, and they also provide protection. That's what our real accountability partners do. That's what our real network does. If we were to look at the nucleus, which is at the center of the cell, that's our mind. The nucleus provides control. It protects the DNA, which are those stored memories. All the hereditary information in a cell is found in the nucleus. What are we passing down? What have generations before us experienced? We are affected by that as well. So our nucleus could represent our mind. That's our control center of the anatomy of me. Then we could think about cytoplasm. So the cytoplasm is around the nucleus. In the actual cell, it's more like a jelly-like substance. It surrounds the nucleus. So what do we allow in our environment? Because that cytoplasm is like our environment. And in the actual cell, that's where all of its chemical process takes place. That's where things are being changed. That's where transitions occur. So what environment do we allow ourselves to be in? Because we know that an environment could make or break you. Go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. So our environment is like that cell cytoplasm. Within that cytoplasm contains something known as organelles. So these organelles we could compare to the habit. What habits have you established in your life? I'm on day 420 plus of running every single day. I'm working on my fitness habit, or my mental habit, and even professional habit. I'm making the videos that I'm sharing with you right now. What are we putting in place? What habits do we have to enhance our life? We have habits regardless. It's up to us to determine and identify which ones are good, which ones are bad, which ones are we going to hold on to, value, and invest in, and which ones are we going to release. In a cell, the organelles carry out all the essential functions needed for the process of life. It's these organelles that allow for the cell to repair itself when it's damaged, to grow, and also to reproduce. It is the habits that we establish that help us at times when we need to heal or repair ourselves. at times when we need to grow or we want to enhance our life. For us to function, in order for our processes to be effective, we got to have a driving force. We got to have fuel. We got to have energy. We have to have some form of motivation or some type of intrinsic value system so that we can continue at times and move forward at times when we really don't feel like it. When it comes to a cell that's known as the mitochondria, I want us to relate a cell's mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, what provides the energy. That's where that chemical energy is released and produced from the food that it intakes. That's our why. That's our purpose. We don't have to have a super complex why, but we need to have some type of goal, some type of objective, something that we're moving towards. We may not have it clearly defined, and that's okay. Sometimes it's best for us to take it one day at a time. However, we still need to be moving forward. We need to identify our purpose. We need to identify our why, because that is what's going to keep us moving when we don't feel like it, on days when we don't feel well, when we don't see the results or the fruit of our labor. So cells are the basic units, the building blocks of all living creatures. The question is, what are you building? What are you building it with? And who are you building them with? That's why we need to understand the anatomy of me, the basic units that create all living things, because I know you too truly want to live. Remember, I'm a teacher, not a speaker. I want you to have an amazing day.